Welcome back. We are here with Rosie Scott. Rosie is our fantastic centre leader at the Boulevard and has been acting as centre leader down at Future Focus Papamore Beach. How are you, Rosie?
I'm good, thanks, Ray. Thanks for having me on your show today.
It's good to have you. Rosie, why don't you tell us a little bit about... Why don't you talk to us about your career to date in early childhood and where you've kind of come from and how you got to being at the Boulevard?
Okay. I have always been drawn to children, I think from quite a young age, and I feel like I just found my way into the ECE sector, I think, by a family that was quite influential to me and really pointed out that that's a good place for me to go. I didn't actually finish school, so a place that I was really drawn to, and I feel like from there I've just continued into that journey. It's a place that I've continued to grow in right from started studying at 16 and somehow found myself here all these years later.
Wow, wait. So you didn't finish school?
No.
Okay, I've learnt something. Wow, okay. So what school, where are you originally from?
I did originally from Tauranga, but moved to Auckland when I was 10 and stayed up there until I was about 20.
Interesting, because you're quite learned, but you didn't finish school. Let's dig into that a wee bit. So, because you're drawn to children and you're actually really, really great with children, but who pushed you that way?
One of my friend's mums, actually. Oh, yeah, just really said, I was looking at what am I going to do? I'd actually done a super yacht crew course and I wanted to go and travel the world, but I found myself being 16 and trying to get into that industry at that age, and probably my confidence as well to go over there. So I don't actually know how I ended up being enrolled into any course to study. It all just felt like it was a meant to be process. I think there were some papers that arrived and I had a look and went for a wee bit of an interview actually here at BTI over in Tauranga, and the rest is kind of history.
Yeah, it's been so how many years then have you been in the sector, do you think?
14.
Wow, yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah.
That's a long time. So just talk through some of your career, because we obviously picked you up from a local centre here, but and I want to dig into Ashburton a wee bit, because I know you hold it in such high regard, and it's just similar to my own career. You've got spots that are really special in your own heart. So just talk about what centre that was, and the major impacts that had on you as a person in practice.
Well, we first of all moved down to Ashburton to me and my now husband to start like a journey of our own and to discover ourselves, I guess, as people, and part of that was a huge career opportunity for me. I worked down there first of all in filling an ACC position for 8 weeks, and they wanted to keep me there in a team leader position, but there was a new centre being built that I went for an interview and had a few recommendations for. So,
what was the name of that centre?
Stepping Stones at Braybrook, yeah. And that was just such a wonderful opportunity to be a part of. Coming in from, they had the building, they had some resources, but it was still the concrete laid, it was framing. So to be a part of building policy, procedure, and the philosophy and values around what that centre was going to be.
Yeah, that's in that situation there, you obviously had some pretty incredible staff around you, because I know you've spoken about that team, and you and I've been really fortunate to dig into you in regards to that team, because we're trying to look at ways of replicating things, great practice and things. But what was it about that team and those individuals that really pulled that team together?
Community, I think, like the vibe. It was like a family, whānau, coming together. I think, working together on a shared vision. I think people that are passionate and want to see something come.
Yeah, I think when I've always. I always get a big smile when I hear you talk about Ashburton, because I mean, as a teacher myself, again, like I worked in some just phenomenal teams, and the lessons that those people taught me, the Jan Whaleys and Sean Bolloways and the crew at Mundial Intermediate and some of Dave Bird and people like that I worked with overseas and things like. They're such lasting lessons because what they showed me, and those were different places, Decile 10, Decile 1, or here overseas and things. Some of the lessons were just so long lasting and still permeate in my own practice today. What are some of those lessons that you can think of that individuals taught you?
Patience would be a big one, and just giving people time to grow, and that probably is for myself as well. Oh, it's so hard. So many different times and lessons. And
when you think about patience, because what I love, because I also think about how reflective you are. I think what I love about you, Rosie, is you reflect. And then I know it's easy to talk about that, but actually a lot of people don't want to reflect on their own, on themselves and their actions and the consequence of their actions. I think that's probably one thing. Where does the reflection come from? Is that from within the sector, or is that from upbringing? Where do you think that's from?
Maybe a little bit from upbringing, family values, but also I think through my study. It was quite a big part of, as we studied, there was lots and lots of reflection. And I think I've just continued that. I
mean, it's enjoyable, right?
Yeah. I think now that I'm a bit more comfortable with it, in the beginning, I didn't really grasp the concepts, but I think as I've grown in myself and in my career, it's such a vital part. Because with your level of reflection that I see, you're actually playing out all the learning. That's the cool thing. It's like having a set of cards out in front of you, and you've got all the scenarios in your hands, and you're like, right, upon reflection, this is what happened, but it could have gone this way and could have gone this way. And I think that's been part of your rapid ascension, even with us, in your own leadership space and your own growth and understanding. You're just so committed to reflection. I also think maybe finding a wee solution as well, and I think to do that you need to be able to reflect on what's going on, and I think people around me have helped me to doing that, having other strong, I guess, like at the moment we have our leadership crew, and the reflections that come out of that. Down at Stepping Stones, the same thing. I had a really good leadership crew. I was never standing on my own. There was always the centre leader or another leader, and that was there to help have those conversations and to come out at the end with a bit of a solution and an idea. But you can't just come up with that solution if you're not taking the time to reflect on how it could play out, or your influence in that time.
But I think because your confidence to back your decisions has really come on and for those that are listening, it was a bit of a baptism by fire for Rosie. I think we went through some fairly rapid change at points, and this is where I really give kudos to you about how well you handled that. But what's been really prevalent is that you're solution-based, but solution-based, again, is not a real norm within society. I'm just trying to figure out here, like, where does that come from? You're like real solutions-based. You're like, right, let's try this, let's do this, let's do this. Is it the career, or is it you? Is it where does that come from?
I don't know. I haven't thought about enough into that, I don't think.
Because the tiny home's a good example, right?
Yes.
Like the tiny home's absolutely got to be solution-based. I know that's been a real task of yours and Dan's.
Real labour of love.
Real labour of love. You've got to see a vision.
Yeah.
Right? And you guys have obviously seen the vision, but even already you've discussed with me, like, you guys went to Ashburton because you saw a vision of who you guys probably wanted to be as a married couple. Were you newly married when you went down there?
No, we
or
weren't married. We hadn't actually been together maybe within a year, maybe. My timing's right, yeah.
Right, and so you shot down there and you guys were basically committed to trying to grow and learn and get out of a comfort zone?
Yeah, but we also weren't afraid to come back either. That was always an option. We're just going to go down there and give this a go and try and experience and trying to learn. But the same thing with going to Ashburton. It wasn't like lots of people will say to us, why Ashburton? And we don't actually have a answer for that. We tried to go to Australia actually 3 times and it just never worked out. There was always something. We actually drove once all the way up to Auckland for a travel show. That the dates were actually for the year before. We were standing at the expo. There was lots of roadblocks, but we went for a trip over to Australia and decided that in that time that we were going to branch our wings somewhere else, and we put some CVs in and we chose Canterbury, and Dan and I both got jobs in Ashburton, and so we just went. Yeah. We moved 2 weeks later. From that decision. So then, in that stage, I don't know if I was very reflective, but we were keen to take on a challenge. I think that fits into something that I love to give something a go. Yeah.
So where do you see that in your own leadership today? Because that's the. I don't know if you're right about. No, you didn't reflect, but. Remember, reflection isn't about writing in journals for 10 days and going to a silence retreat. Like you can, if I put my hand on a burning element, on a hot element, I can reflect immediately that that's not a smart move.
Yeah.
Hopefully I don't put my hand back there again. But in that sense, where do you see that, which is, I don't want to just put it in a little petri dish here while I'm investigating it and give it a name, but where do you see that in your leadership practice now?
In the way of facing challenges? There's been lots of curveballs in this last year for me, and I guess previously as well. Every day. Taking them on. Always, I don't know. There's lots of challenges within this role, within the sector as well. To look at them as a chance to grow. Chance to grow others is probably really important as well.
Yeah, let's talk to that, because I know that's a real passion of yours. Yeah. We're literally just talking about a particular person within our team and how, even though you said that you haven't been spending much time with them, that it tends to drift to certain ways in ways that they need. What does that look like in a development space of you working with your team?
Something that's really important to me and always has, and it may come from my upbringing and maybe even from through the stuff I learned through my studies, but that comes to me as serving others, and that's really important to me. So being able to do that and help them and meet them in that space is something that I just love to do. It fills my cup. I don't want to say that in that I'm doing it to fill my cup. It just naturally does. I like to be in that space to try and encourage others to learn and grow, but I've learnt a lot, especially from you yourself, Ray, and through reading some of those books on how to be asking the right questions to do that sort of stuff and actually put a little bit more purpose to what comes naturally to me. Because
it is very natural. I think it's very evident your desire to want to serve others. And, Simon Sinek, we've talked about this, there's no greater gift than serving those that serve others. I think that's why we get on so well, is because our pursuit to serve others is unrelenting, actually. I think, for me personally, the reason why when you and I get together and we're brainstorming about a person or something, we are genuinely looking into the service of others, right?
Yes, definitely, yeah.
And we've had some cool experiences of that in terms of your time with Pat Beach and as you go into the Boulevard, those challenges of finding ways to serve others is almost, to me, your North Star.
Yes, I think so.
So just go back a wee bit, because I know you do talk about Dad a lot.
Yeah.
And your relationship with the Dad. And, everything I hear about his love and care for you, is inspiring to me as a father. But do you think, in terms of what he does in that space, where is the service for others coming from?
I'm definitely growing up in my years where our home was always open to others, and I love that. We always, growing up, Pancake Sundays was a thing, and there'd always be pancakes on, and people would always come into our home, and I loved that, the community, the connection that creates. I think definitely some of that is from there. I think my dad in particular has a huge heart for serving others, and particularly when I was younger, he worked a lot with at-risk youth, and I got to spend a lot of time doing that with him. He believed that being out in the water and on the boat with him and alongside those people was quite an important part of my upbringing. So surely that's...
Wow. Okay. So now we're really going down there. So he worked with at-risk youth. So then it's no wonder you got into an industry working with children. What does that look like for your own career, in terms of carrying those lessons Dad obviously imparted on you? When we're talking about service to others, what does that look like in terms of actual deliberate action when working with your teams and with whānau? I think because that's also, we help a lot of families. What's your kind of, do you have some sort of formula that you're kind of like following, or do you trust your gut? What does that look like?
I've definitely learned to trust my gut, particularly in the last year. To follows that instinct. Something that I've learned, I guess, through teaching is observational practice, and
so just talk us through that.
I just think being real observing what's happening and not jumping in straight away. I by heart am an under twos teacher, and that's spoken a lot within that respectful practice. Being available to those pepe, but that same thing. I think I carry that same idea with me when I'm with the teachers as well, that sometimes I have also spoken about this, it can be a strength, but it's also my weakness, because I observe and then sometimes I don't jump in quick enough when I could see a moment to grow or something that should be brought up quickly, but I'm learning to grow in that. And I was talking to Auntie this morning actually about my next growth in that area is courage, growing in courage.
So let's talk through some of that, because courage in leadership, or courageous leadership, or whatever you want to call that. You've made some serious strides as you go into the Boulevard around being courageous around some of those parts and pieces that challenge you. What do you anticipate being some of the challenges when implementing courage or courageous leadership?
I look at it, I've always thought of it being a bit of a confidence piece for me, and belief in myself. But I think having the right people around me is really helping and supporting me to grow in that space. And I think it's maybe been a little bit more intentional on these things that I carry, I guess, in my heart or within my values and who I am, and been a little bit more intentional in those areas to...
But you're aware of it, right?
I've become aware of it, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
What was that? Where's that come from, that awareness? Because we can't solve issues that we're not aware of.
I'm someone who, part of my reflection is to talk, I think. That really helps to have those conversations. I have some really good people within our work environment and also in my personal life that helps with some of those, to be reflective, to be mindful, to create awareness around where I want to go, or growth, or and taking that. I think in the last year I've also had to learn the opposite side of downtime. In the last year I've had a lot of downtime by myself, and I'm a very social person. So I think within that time I've had to dig deep to do some true reflection on where I want to go.
You are social. Yeah, you are social. I think Rosie's underestimating how social she is. We enjoy a cheeky beverage together in that. But let's just, because the courage piece, I think you're underestimating yourself a wee bit there, because I think you went into a situation of unknown. Especially in Brit, you came under the shadow of Brit, who is a fantastic leader as well, and you had to be courageous around finding some of yourself without kind of trampling over all the great work Brit had done. So you've had to navigate all that space, and now as you go into the Boulevard, and now it's your space, and you get to really drive your own agendas, dare I say, but your own desires in terms of leading that forward. What will the lessons that you've learnt in the last year in particular, what will you really carry into helping, and I think it's important, build on that courage? So what will you carry from the last year about helping build on that courage? And B, still staying true to your North Star, around service to others.
I feel like this last year I've kind of been in, I guess, a bit of a chrysalis state, you could say. I feel like I've just been taking in lots and lots of information and learning a lot, and that's definitely something that is still going to stay with me, that learning and that growth piece. But the opportunity to, I guess, hop out of the chrysalis and dry my wings to hopefully fly is something that I'm really excited about. But to be able to go in with that love to serve others and create a place for children, for whānau and for our Kaiako, for me, I think, is just at the forefront of what I want to do, is my inspiration. So I think each lesson that I've learnt, I don't know, small lessons every day to bigger lessons of situations, they'll impart my journey every single day. In that way.
I think you're so reflective again, you'll pick up those lessons.
Yeah.
I think that's the cool thing about your ability to reflect, is that the lessons won't be lost. I think the real danger is getting caught in too much of the lessons. Sometimes, death by analysis can sometimes come into play. So it is a happy medium in some of that space. What about just go to your under two, because babies teachers, they're babies teachers,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
They are babies teachers. Toddler teachers, they're toddler teachers. Like that baby space. Because I know you do hold it quite close to your heart in that space, and actually, quite frankly, the Boulevard Kirikahurangi team are ably led by Karen, and they're just such an exciting team.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting on alongside them.
Yeah,
seeing their passion.
But just talk to me about some of the real key attributes of a quality under two or infant space, and some of the attributes, obviously, of interaction with the children themselves, but also as a team. Can you talk to us about some of those real high quality pieces?
I was really fortunate. The team that I worked with down south in Ashburton, we were a really strong team for 6 years, and the growth that we saw and that of coming together to create a really strong philosophy, particularly focused on under twos, to where that came 6 years ago, and that, when I left was huge, and that was never done alone by myself as the leader or any of the individual teachers. We were all on the same page. You don't have for us, we were really big on the free movement space, which we were speaking about earlier today, but we didn't have. We were all on that same page. We all went on that journey together, and then how we were educating and supporting families on that. I think just that's that team collaboration of what that environment looks like, and having really clear, and under twos, it's care as a curriculum. There's so much that's going on for those wee babies, and you all need to be working together, listening to one another. I just would love being in that space and being able to. It got to a point of not necessarily needing to ask. We knew each other so well that the flow just really worked in well of those care for those children. Little things of really knowing each other, knowing the children, knowing what that teacher's going to need. So simple as teachers going into the sleep room and they see that I'm getting my peppy ready for bed, that they actually go and make sure that bed is prepared for me and that child. So it's looking after your colleagues in that role and in turn for the children. So in that team building space, it's about really understanding each other's philosophies. Every teacher has their own area of passion and vibe and that they bring. So it's about really knowing that. A teacher that loves being in that outdoor environment, and so making sure that that can be happening with working within that teamwork to allow that teacher to be in that space where they are going to thrive and grow.
You use the word vibe, and you're one leader that you have spoken to me about a few times about the teacher's vibe. It's not something I'd heard before interacting with you, but it certainly really resonates with me. So, what was your vibe?
As a teacher?
As a teacher.
To bring with me would be calmness, approachability, available. I definitely think there's other really important factors in there.
So, availability is presence, right?
Yeah.
Calm in an under two space. When you see a real strong practitioner, they always carry a level of calm. So you can just sense that nothing phases them.
Yeah.
That's when you really know that under two space. We think about some of our own practitioners across the organisation, and I think of like Chio, Karen's for sure. I think of Megan who's come in, and then I've got Susan and Danielle and them down there, and then even at times, and I've seen like Amber and the crew down there with the batch, and just that calm leads to presence. That you can't be present if you're not calm, right?
No, definitely not.
Because it's very hard to stay in the now if you ain't calm.
Yeah.
So how did you guys facilitate that? Because you obviously were part of a centre building up. So what sort of numbers did you start with in terms of, do you remember? What sort of enrolments? Because I think it's important for families to kind of understand the challenge around, even staff, to understand the challenge of a building centre versus walking into a centre that's well established. Like that's Pat Beach. It's the OG centre. It's set up. It's rolling. It's got a lot of systems in play. Versus building up a space, right?
Yeah.
And then you're getting in new team members and new babies, and all of a sudden you've gone from 3 babies to 7 babies and to 11 babies, and then things change and more whānau and things like that. So how did you guys get through that? I don't want to say unscathed, because I think there's some teething pieces, but what did that look like?
We really gelled as a team. We took any opportunity that we could, and I think that was a huge part.
There's Rosie sociable.
Yeah, total. Like, staff meeting would finish, we'd go out and have dinner or a drink together very, very regularly in those early days. And I think that really brought us together as a team. You know, it was a place that you wanted to be as well, so people would stay and to really build up that space. But I think that time that we really took to connect together, and for us, that we kept that going throughout over those years, and really talking about the changes that came. You know, every year we'd look at our philosophy and how it was presenting, and what other teachers would bring into that space.
Because what did that look like when immersing a new teacher? How did you immerse them into the philosophy, or utilise their philosophy to still enable them to be individuals?
Yes.
But
I think
their vibe.
Yeah, definitely. Part of that would be when they come into the party, making sure that their philosophy aligns a wee bit. You know, if you have someone that, you know, we're doing free movement, we also do quite strong primary caregiving or whānau support in the space. So the teachers need to be on some same page to begin with, to be honest, you know. And I think one beauty of Future Focus is that we do have those different environments. So to be able to find a place where a teacher's philosophy is going to fit is amazing, that we can really look into that. And then what other teachers have to bring, been open space. Knowing teachers' passions, where they want to grow, and how we can support that within that space. So giving teachers opportunities to be able to give things a go. And yeah.
So there's still lots of deep elements of service to others there, because you're still trying to consider the new person coming in while still holding up the mana of the current team, right?
Yes.
You know, and in regards to, you know, we've talked about this so often in terms of our tactic, if anything, of staying in Papamoa and trying to build these spots close to one another. We've had some real strong benefits of that, you know.
For sure.
I think, you know, even the chance to be able to discuss what people's needs are in their career, and that we can literally, you know, I know for me personally, for my principalship, I had to go and live out in this isolated town. You know, I was 26, but I did it because that's what I had to do. But we can actually provide conversations about where we would love to see people get to, and where they want to get to, and move them 5 minutes down the road. How do we, as an organisation, in your opinion, how do we arrive to those decisions about people, and what we believe is best for them?
Through connection, through relationship. I think we speak quite a lot about trying to understand people. It's just not, we're not looking at the teacher for them as a teacher, we're looking at them of who they are. And that needs to align, you know. It's not as much as, it's not a place that you walk in and out of being a teacher. It's something that you carry with you. And if you could just, you have a teacher, here you go, we have a job, we have 40 hours for you, go in there, good luck, you know. But I think if we are wanting to be really in tune with our teachers and to grow people, we need to build relationship and connection and get to know them. And that's not going to happen in the first 2 weeks of us employing them. That takes time to build up.
But we start strong, right?
Yeah, we definitely do.
You know?
Yeah.
How are some of the ways you start strong?
Definitely connecting right from the beginning. I think those first couple of days of a new staff member being in your space is such a critical time to get to know them. and to be able to spend a bit of one-on-one time with them is amazing in that space. I mean, we had Megan start a few weeks ago and loved just taking her out for a coffee and getting to know her and hear her passions, but then to also follow that through with seeing her in the classroom and coming alongside her and talking about what that might look like and how we're going to continue to grow that over her journey here at Veg Focus.
Because what do you think's the window? What's the window of kind of honeymoon phase, placebo type, new job? What's that window of danger / opportunity to really consolidate that relationship in your experience?
I think within the first 3 months.
So you're looking at it about 60 working days?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So we've got 60 working days to really get them to feel like they can bite down and be who they want to be, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we want to grow them. We don't want to be sitting ducks either, do we? We want to inspire people. We want to light fires, especially if we're talking about changing the sector. So...
Yes, because what does that really look like?
Yeah.
When it comes to... You're right, because if we're talking about changing the sector, and which we really believe, and I truly believe our leadership team really is committed to what that looks like, it is entirely coming back to relationships, right?
Yeah, yeah.
There's just no way.
Yeah, I think, and then if you're going to leave that and be like, oh, we'll let them settle in for another month. Like, what are you waiting for?
Yeah.
And
well,
then
I kind of always likened it to like, can you imagine if you started a rugby team overseas and you're like, right, I've got unlimited budget. I'm going to go get the best player in the world. And you're like, right, I'm going to get Richie McCaw. And then Richie McCaw turns up, and can you imagine just saying to him, hey, you just got to just settle in for a month. I know you're the greatest All Black ever, but just settle in for the month. And, give yourself another month and just ease your way in. There's no way, and we've been really fortunate with a lot of our teams we've picked up that they want to bite down, right? They're like, they've turned up to us for a reason. Majority, I think, they've either heard about us or they've seen what's gone on social or something. But I think we're really finding those people that want to get involved in that kaupapa, right?
Yeah. I think you don't want them to get comfortable, right?
Yeah, that's the real challenge. Because what does comfort look like in that 60 days? If we're talking about that, what does that look like?
Rocking in, rocking out. I don't know, you start off, especially if you can see the hiss and the roar in the beginning, and that just slowly starts on that downhill. What's going on for that teacher? Is it, what's going on for them? How's the team going? All those sort of things that you've got to really, really get into that quite early on, I think. Otherwise...
Very early.
Yeah, yeah.
You can see when their why doesn't stack, right?
Yeah.
You can really see when the purpose or their fulfillment level is only tied to... And that's the danger if someone's just leaving just to get out of the current job they're in. Because they're unhappy there or someone said something. Or that's the real danger. Because if they turn up to us in a position that they're like, I'm just getting away from that job. It's a dangerous space to come in when we really believe in high performance, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think part of this is also setting an expectation, right? Because what might be okay at another place is actually really mediocre to us, and we want to raise that bar and the experiences that we're providing for our children and for our kaiako.
Ooh, I love that. That mediocre, mediocre. We talk about mediocre because actually, kids deserve it, right?
Yeah.
And actually, and I know we've always talked about that staff, our team, our kaiako, they deserve it because most teachers came into. Well, I'd like to say majority teachers came into it to change kids' lives, right? I think that's a given for teachers. But somewhere along the line, they lose that, or unfortunately, it's forced out of them. And we're starting to see better changes, right? Pay's getting better, rightly so. Crappy owners are being pushed out, mediocre owners, rightly so. And hopefully the result is really high performing, right? So in that sense, what do you see as your vision for your own centre with the Boulevard, but also like, what does that look like as a real high performing centre?
It's a really big question.
Big dreams, big questions.
But yeah. I think first of all, you get a vibe and a feeling when you come to a place, and I want people to be able to feel that when they walk in the door. That's really important. I've often said to parents when they come around and look at a centre that it's important to go to other centres and really feel and look at what suits them. And I want that vibe to be a place where people want to be there. They want to come into work. They want to. They see purpose in what they're doing every day, and that they understand that every interaction that they have with a child can have so much impact on them. But if they're just coming in mediocre, those children are what's missing out. And I think my space in the leadership space is to look after those kaiako and serve them so they can serve our children.
I think that certainly resonates back if your dad worked with at-risk youth. Your interaction could be your last one. I think that's critical to the success of any teacher. Is like you've got to be prepared that interaction that you have could be your last one with them. But it's very hard to win a child back when you've really let them down. Children don't care, man. Like, if you let them down, man, they especially at this, there's in a space where there's lots of teachers that they can not choose you. I think that mediocre commentary is something we're really on a warpath against, right? Because I just know that families would, if they could, they'd choose to be with their children.
Oh, 100%. It's such a privilege, a blessing, to have these children in our care. Like, they're the jewels, they're so special. Like, yeah.
I was really against Marlo going into daycare. I just had my own kind of reservations around it. The media wasn't great around it at this time. But man, we were really lucky we had Sarita, beautiful Indian lady. She was just phenomenal. No matter, and I was so anxious as a father. I was so anxious. And Rashmeek was the centre leader, and between Rashmeek and Sarita, they were just this bundle of love and care. And when we because we'd kind of explored early childhood for a long time, Quentin and I, but I was like, right, how do we hire Sarita and Rashmeek? But it was amazing to see a teacher working with non-verbal. Marla was very young, 5 months. Just this love, There was nothing, and you know what? The centre was average in terms of what it looked like, what they had. But man, she loved Marlo, and she loved kids. It was just so clear to me, and I've been lucky and spoiled in that sense because, and Frankie was with me at Future Focus, but man, when you see those teachers that are just extraordinary, that's the only way you will accept, right?
Yeah, 100%. That's what we want to see, and that love and care is just, it should be visible.
Yeah.
People are trusting us with their children, how can we create that space? What does that look like for not just as a whole, but each individual family?
Yes.
Yeah, and what they need.
And what is. I think that's the critical piece. And us working hard to find out what teachers need allows them to then find out what their whānau need. Because I do back us. Like, we know our teachers.
Yes,
Right?
and we're just getting to know them even more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We dig into it in the leadership space.
Yeah.
We really do dig into it. Every leadership meeting, we're generally talking about our teams and people, right? And not moaning and bloody BS. But we're actually like...
With a lens of growth. And I think if it's coming back to anything, it's to challenge us in the leadership space.
Yes.
To what we can be deliberately doing.
Yes.
To grow those people.
That ownership on ourselves.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, Rosie, I'm going to wrap it up, but I've got a question that I'm asking everyone. So the question I'm asking is, can you give us, you only need to give first name, but can you give us the name of a child or children that had a major effect on you as a teacher?
Probably a little girl called Finn.
Talk to us about Finn.
Finn, she was actually the manager's daughter, and where I worked over my 3rd year of study, and Finn would come to work with her mum and sleep up in the office when she was maybe 12 weeks old and spend lots of time. Dan and I got the privilege of being her primary caregiver, her whānau support, and along with her and a few other children, Blake and Nixon in particular, and I moved from the infant space with them into the it was like an over 2.5 to 5-year-old space, and went through with them and then set them up and did transition to school and set them into school. So I got to go through the whole journey with that group of children, and that has definitely moulded me as a teacher, and probably as a leader as well, because I didn't get just to see that year or year and a half of caring for them. I got to see right through that preschool space and what it looks like, and see her little personality grow and her wee little traits that come through in her. Yeah,
that's cool, eh? That's cool. Well, thank you, Rosie. We are really excited about well, first of all, I'm really grateful for my relationship with you. I have a huge amount of love and admiration for what you do. I enjoy a drink with you too. I also think that your vision of what the sector can be and what we can achieve for children is really coming to fruition. I think in the last year, what you've managed to do in that space has been incredible, but it excites me because I don't even think you're operating at anywhere near 100. So Courtney and I in particular, we really are looking forward to seeing your growth, seeing the wings come out of the chrysalis. I like that analogy. So it's really is a pleasure working with you.
Oh, thank you. It's been such an amazing journey to be working with you guys at Future Focus, and the amount of growth that I've had, particularly in the last 6 months, is more than I would have had in the last 6 years, even with those great experiences. So I really thank you for that and appreciate that, and look forward to what's to come. Yeah,
thank you very much, Rosie. We will come back to another new guest at some point, but it's a hard act to follow. Yeah, thank you. And I did have to dig into the capsicum, so that's good.
No, let's just leave that one there, eh?
Okay, thank you very much.